Listen up. Some people don't see your worth. Some don't appreciate you, don't respect you, and don't value what you bring to the table. And you know what? That's not your problem. That's theirs. You've been bending over backward, proving yourself, showing up, giving your all, and still some folks act like you're invisible. But let me tell you something. When a diamond is buried in the dirt, it's still a diamond. Whether they see it or not, whether they recognize it or not, that diamond's value doesn't change, and neither does yours. You are not for everybody, and that's okay. See, too many people out here are trying to prove themselves to folks who will never see their worth. You're bending, adjusting, shrinking yourself just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. But let me tell you something. Your value does not decrease because someone refuses to recognize it. Imagine this. A Rolls Royce doesn't lower its price just because somebody walks into the dealership and says, it's too expensive. The car doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't try to convince anybody of what it's worth because it knows. And you have to be the same way. You have to know your worth so deeply that when people don't appreciate you, you don't get mad, you don't break down, you just keep going. Because you understand that their inability to see your value has nothing to do with you. Now let's get real for a second. Maybe you grew up hearing that you weren't enough. Maybe somebody made you feel small, made you doubt yourself, made you think that you had to earn love, earn respect, earn validation. But let me tell you the truth. Your worth was set the moment you were born. Nobody, and I mean nobody, gets to put a price tag on you. You were created with greatness inside you, built with a purpose that nobody else can fulfill. And yet you're sitting there questioning yourself because some people don't see it, because some folks don't clap for you, because they don't give you the love and recognition you deserve. Let me make something clear. Just because they don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. The sun doesn't stop shining just because somebody closes the blinds. A diamond doesn't stop being valuable just because it's buried in the dirt. So why are you letting somebody else's blindness make you doubt your own light? You got to stop waiting for permission to be great. Stop looking for approval. Some of you are out here asking people to validate what God already confirmed. You're waiting on applause, waiting on someone to tell you you're good enough, waiting on folks to treat you right before you finally step into your power. But let me tell you something. If you keep waiting for people to recognize your worth, you'll be waiting forever. Some people will never see it. Some people will never clap. Some people will never give you what you deserve, not because you aren't worthy, but because they aren't capable. And that's not your problem. Your only job is to know who you are and carry yourself accordingly. When you know your worth, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop settling. You walk different, you talk different, you move different. You don't tolerate disrespect. You don't entertain nonsense. You don't waste energy proving yourself to people who were never meant to understand you in the first place. See, when you know your worth, you don't go where you're merely tolerated, you go where you're celebrated. You don't keep knocking on closed doors, you build your own. You don't keep crying over people who walked away. You thank God for the blessing of their absence. Because the truth is, when some people leave your life, they're doing you a favor. When some folks reject you, they're actually redirecting you. Sometimes the very thing you thought was a loss was actually a win. But you won't see it that way until you understand that your value does not come from other people. It comes from within. It's in your character, your spirit, your resilience. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you love, the way you lead, the way you push through, even when life tries to break you. So stop doubting, stop waiting, stop settling. The world doesn't need a watered-down version of you just because some folks don't get it. They don't have to get it. They don't have to see it. But you do. And when you do, when you finally understand just how powerful, just how valuable, just how unstoppable you are, there won't be a force on this earth that can hold you back. Some of you are holding on to people, places, and situations that are draining you, disrespecting you, making you feel less than you are. You're staying in rooms where you are not valued, where your voice is ignored, where your presence is taken for granted. And you know it, you feel it. But something in you keeps making excuses, keeps justifying their actions, keeps convincing yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, they'll finally see your worth. But let me tell you something. If they haven't seen it by now, they probably never will. You got to stop holding your breath waiting for people to change. You got to stop thinking that if you love them harder, if you prove yourself more, if you just become a little smaller, a little quieter, a little easier to handle, then maybe they'll start treating you right. That's not how it works. Real love, real respect, real appreciation, it's not something you have to beg for. It's not something you have to earn. And if you have to fight tooth and nail just to get the bare minimum from someone, then that's your answer. They were never meant to be in your life in the first place. See, too many people stay in situations that are killing their spirit because they're afraid of what's on the other side. Afraid to leave that job that drains them. Afraid to walk away from that friendship that's turned toxic. Afraid to end that relationship where they are being tolerated instead of treasured. But let me ask you, what are you really afraid of? Being alone? Starting over? Let me tell you something. Nothing is lonelier than being surrounded by people who don't value you. Nothing is scarier than staying stuck in a place that is slowly destroying you. Sometimes, walking away is the most powerful thing you can do. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but because you finally realize that you deserve better. You deserve to be around people who respect you, people who uplift you, people who pour into you the way you pour into them. And if they can't do that, if they can't recognize the greatness in you, then they don't deserve a front row seat in your life. Some of you keep running back to people who have already shown you they don't value you. They don't call, they don't check in, they don't make an effort. But the moment you step back, they act like you're the problem. The moment you start valuing yourself, they call you selfish. Let me tell you something. Choosing yourself is not selfish. Setting boundaries is not rude. Walking away from what no longer serves you is not weakness, it's strength. There comes a time when you have to stop explaining yourself. Stop apologizing for expecting more. Stop lowering your standards just to make other people comfortable. You weren't put on this earth to be disrespected. You weren't created to be somebody's afterthought. You weren't designed to live a life where you are constantly proving your worth to people who don't deserve access to you. End. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying walking away is easy. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. It will test you. But what's worse? Staying where you're not valued. Wasting years of your life trying to convince someone to treat you right. Losing yourself in the process of trying to make someone else happy. You have to make a choice. You can stay where you are, keep accepting less, keep wondering why you don't feel fulfilled. Or you can stand up, take your power back, and walk towards the life you actually deserve. The choice is yours. But I'll tell you this. The moment you stop settling, the moment you finally walk away from what is breaking you, the right doors will open. The right people will show up. The life you were meant for will start to take shape. But it starts with you. The people around you are shaping your life in ways you don't even realize. The conversations you hear, the energy you absorb, the standards they set, it all affects you. And if you're surrounded by folks who don't believe in you, who don't push you, who don't see the greatness inside you, guess what? Eventually, you'll start doubting that greatness yourself. You ever notice how a plant thrives in the right soil, under the right sunlight, with the right water? But take that same plant and put it in the wrong environment, and suddenly it starts to wither. Nothing's wrong with the plant. It was always capable of growing. It just needed the right conditions. And you are no different. Some of you are wondering why you're not growing, why you feel stuck, why you don't have that fire inside you anymore. But look around. Who are you surrounding yourself with? If you spend your time around people who complain all day, who talk about their problems but never do anything about them, who drag you down instead of lift you up, don't be surprised when you start thinking, acting, and feeling just like them. Energy is contagious. Mindsets are contagious. And if you're constantly feeding off negativity, if you're always around people who doubt themselves, it's only a matter of time before you start doubting yourself too. You need to be around people who challenge you, who inspire you, who make you want to do better. People who don't let you settle. People who see your potential and refuse to let you waste it. The ones who call you out when you're making excuses, who push you when you feel like giving up, who remind you of who you are when you start to forget. Those are the people you need in your corner. Some of you have been keeping the wrong company for too long, and it's costing you. You're staying loyal to people who are holding you back. You're keeping friendships that drain you because you've known them for years. You're afraid to let go afraid to move on, afraid to step away because you don't want to be seen as disloyal. But let me tell you something, your loyalty should never come at the expense of your growth. If they truly cared about you, they wouldn't want to see you stuck. They wouldn't be threatened by your success. Real friends, real family, real people who love you, they want to see you win. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they making you better, or are they keeping you stagnant? Are they challenging you, or are they comfortable seeing you stay the same? If you're the smartest, most driven person in your circle, it's time to find a new circle. Because if the people around you aren't pushing you forward, they're holding you back. You were made for more than average. You weren't put on this earth to play small, and sometimes that means making hard decisions. That means stepping away from people who don't align with your purpose. That means surrounding yourself with those who see your value, who recognize your gifts, who push you to step into your full potential. Because when you start aligning yourself with the right people, when you start putting yourself in rooms that inspire you instead of drain you, that's when everything changes. That's when doors start opening. That's when you start stepping into the life you were meant for. So ask yourself, who's in your corner? Who's speaking into your life? Who's feeding your mind, your soul, your spirit? Because if they aren't making you better, if they aren't helping you grow, then what are they really doing? Too many people out here are wasting their energy trying to prove themselves to people who don't even matter. Trying to get validation from folks who will never clap for them. Trying to impress people who aren't even watching. But let me tell you something. Your purpose is bigger than their opinions. What you were put on this earth to do is far greater than their approval. And if you keep chasing validation, if you keep worrying about what they think, you're going to waste years of your life running in circles instead of moving forward. People will always have something to say. No matter how hard you work, no matter how good you are, no matter what you achieve, there will always be someone who doubts you. Someone who criticizes you, someone who doesn't believe in what you're doing. And if you let that stop you, if you let their words get inside your head, then you've already lost. Because the moment you start living for their approval is the moment you stop living for your purpose. You ever notice how the most successful people in the world all have haters? The greatest athletes, the most talented artists, the most brilliant minds, they all have people who doubt them. But you know what they don't do? They don't stop. They don't waste time arguing. They don't get caught up trying to convince people to respect them. They stay locked in. They stay focused because they know that their purpose is too important to be distracted by. Some of you are holding back because you're afraid of what people might say, afraid of judgment, afraid of criticism, afraid that if you step out and go after what you really want, people will talk. Well, guess what? They're going to talk anyway. Whether you succeed or fail, whether you go all in or play it safe, whether you take the risk or stay where you are, people will always have an opinion. So you might as well do what you were born to do. You might as well chase that dream, build that business, write that book, take that leap. Because at the end of the day, it's your life, not theirs. You got to develop tunnel vision. You got to be so locked in on your goals, on your mission, on what you were put here to do, that nothing shakes you, that no criticism throws you off course, that no rejection makes you doubt yourself. Because the truth is, the people who doubt you now, they'll be the same ones acting like they always believed in you when you make it. The ones who ignore you now, they'll be the first ones trying to shake your hand later. That's how it works. So stop letting small-minded people make you question your big dreams. Stop dimming your light because it makes other people uncomfortable. Stop holding back your potential just because some folks don't get it. They don't have to get it. It's not for them to understand. Your vision was given to you. Your purpose was placed inside you. And if you keep worrying about their opinions, you're going to miss out on what's meant for you. Every great person in history had to push past doubt. Every champion, every leader, every world changer had to drown out the noise and stay focused on their mission, and you are no different. If you want to be great, if you want to achieve what you were put here to achieve, you got to stop letting outside voices control your inner belief. You got to trust yourself. Believe in your own vision. Keep moving, keep pushing, keep grinding, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that you fulfilled your purpose. Everything else is just noise. Listen, life is too short to be begging for love, for respect, for appreciation. You weren't made to beg. You were made to shine. You don't have to convince anyone to see your worth. You don't have to prove anything to those who refuse to recognize your greatness. So from today forward, stand tall. Know who you are. Walk boldly in your purpose, because when you know your worth, you stop offering discounts. Now go out there and be unstoppable.